Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today I am once again building something from the Predator series. Recently a new one was released called Prey. It is set before even the first Predator movie by quite a bit, back into the 1700s, and there's a lot of super awesome stuff in there. I really wanted to make the helmet, but I know I kind of made one not too long ago. This one is definitely going to have to be one that I build at some point. But the thing that really caught my eye, as most of you know, I am kind of obsessed with shields, and in this one the Predator has an awesome shield that kind of pops out of his little arm bracer, and I wanted to make it. I'm not going to try and make the arm bracer. I have made one of those before with the little prongs that come out, but I wanted mainly just to focus on the shield, and I knew that that would be a difficult enough task to tackle in one build because it's a lot of parts. So without further ado, today we are building something from the new Predator movie, a awesome new metal shield made out of foam. Let's get to building. After watching the movie and re-watching the parts where the shield was visible, I tried looking for some clear examples in a Google search online. Most of the scenes are a bit foggy. When it does appear, first pulling out of the arm bracer was the best image I could find, other than maybe behind the scenes that I was able to stumble across. I opened up my iPad and tried to draw out some layers that would make sense to me. I converted those to SVGs so that I could cut them out on my Glowforge. There are 24 panels, each made of 3 layers and 3 smaller pieces on top of that, plus the center is made out of 5 layers, and eventually I add a back support oval. So that means Glowy is about to cut out 150 pieces for me to cut, sand, and position. Guess I am a glutton for pain. I did a test run with some contact cement and realized that it was going to take way too long to glue up each of these panels individually the traditional way, so I looked through my box of glues and found a heavy duty spray adhesive by Gorilla Glue. I've used this to stick those panels on my back wall. It works pretty good. To show you the process, I did a glue up inside on camera with good lighting. I wouldn't recommend doing this stuff inside. After this one was shot, I did the remaining 22 outside with both the respirator and gloves on. This stuff is super sticky and gets all over your hands, and it's a mess. This sped up the process substantially, and within about an hour I had them all glued up ready for the next step. I'll try and add both my normal pattern format as well as an SVG version if you have a laser cutter and want to do it the simpler way. One drawback to layering up these 2mm what the foams is that cutting it out on a laser leaves a scorched edge. So to get rid of that texture and blend in the layers together, I know I have to painstakingly sand back all the edges with a sanding drum, then repeat each of them again with a stone bit to smooth it out. I spent the better part of an afternoon sanding and sanding and sanding. Make sure to wear a respirator and work in a well-ventilated area while sanding EVA foam. These little foam particles get everywhere and you don't want them ending up in your lungs. It's kind of hard to explain to others why you sneeze different colors other than green. After several attempts to figure out how to assemble this thing all together, I came up with this idea, which I'm still making up as I go. The smaller oval will act as my center point, so I need to fan the panels around that central point. My shield ended up a little more circular than I wanted it to, but I thought it was okay. I put a small bit of glue on my middle and the first panel to stick down so it kind of braced the rest of them, and then glued that to the glass top. The cutting mat that you see here is actually glued on the underside of my glass table here. There are 11 panels to each side fanned out, and the top and bottom of the shield have one each that sits proud of the rest, so I make 2 fans and attach them together. If you are keeping count of the types of glue I have used in this video so far, the number is currently at 3. Spray adhesive to spread on the large area glue ups, super glue to position the panel alignments, and now hot glue to fill in the void between and on the back. I didn't think the super glue had a good enough support, so I wanted to kind of fill in those empty void that were left over. I also used contact cement for the center detail stack you see off to the left, and for the support oval that I glue onto the back off camera that will magically appear in the next scene. So there's a total of 4 glues. The fans overlap each other a little more to get around the center oval, so it's not perfectly round. I hot glued on the last 2 panels because I wanted to be able to slide them under that middle support area, the little oval structure that you see. This gives me a little wiggle room to position it while it sets up. In the movie, the shield uncollapses from inside the Predator's arm bracer. While yes, I could have made a bracer, the week was getting later and later, and I thought it would be an easy addition down the road if I wanted to tackle that. I don't have the mechanical expertise to make this a functional one that magically pops out. Pretty sure that the uncoiling was CGI'd and the real hero prop was just placed on top, probably with magnets or a fastener in a cut. I'm just going to put 2 straps on, sandwiching it between the foam. Two thick layers of Plasti-Dip, I was pretty surprised that it took 2 full cans of Plasti-Dip to coat this thing. It's a relatively small shield, but all those recesses really absorbed all that spray. I ended up spending over an hour or so with a little paintbrush, cramming it into all the little nooks and crannies to try and hide the red that I could still see. The rest of the paint job is pretty simple. I give it a nice cover with some Spanish copper rub and buff to start off with. From what I can tell in the few seconds that the shield is actually visible in the movie, it looks two-toned. For the lighter color, I'm using some metallic luster copper. It's lighter and more of a hard acrylic wax paint. I add a little bit of water mix into it to kind of help get it onto the brush. The lighter color gets hit on all of the tips of the panel and then on the center ridge before it meets in the middle pivot point. I think I got it relatively close to what I could see on the screen. This will definitely sit proudly with the rest of my shields mounted on the wall in my man cave. And we are finished. Here is the end result. So many layers, so much sanding. It was a lot of effort. I know that some of you are getting tired of seeing me use the Glowforge. I know I've used it in a couple of builds recently, but when there are literally over 120 parts, I really don't want to have to repetitively cut those out by hand. If the Glowforge can do it for me and do it more precise, why not let it do the grunt work and do it in pretty slim times. It took about 3 hours for everything to get cut out, and then another couple hours to glue all the pieces together, and then another couple hours to sand all the pieces. So while yes, I did use the machine, I still had to do a lot of refining and glue up and all that other stuff with it. So yeah, maybe you'll try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull something from a movie that's super cool that you can only see in foggy scenes in one little cut, and try and make it from it as best you could. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some. Yay! And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them, much props. I'm just going to, bum rush the camera and hit you with it. So prepare yourself. Brace yourself, fool! If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to continue to see builds like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.